Okay, right now, a big problem is the all lives matter versus Black Lives Matter. And I was wondering if you oppose one more than the other, or do you believe it's going in the right direction with the Black Lives Matter movement?
And reparations. Tavares also wanted to know about reparations. So Black Lives Matter, what direction are we headed? We'll start with you, Mr. Gilbert, and reparations.
You know what, a gentleman that I know peripherally helped me understand the difference between Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter. I don't think there's really a distinction there. Black Lives Matter is like saying, I'm against pancreatic cancer. Well, somebody else comes along and says, well, what's the matter with breast cancer? You're not against breast? I am against breast cancer, but my wife died of pancreatic cancer. So that's my particular interest when you come to talking about cancer. There's nothing wrong with saying Black Lives Matter, and objecting to it makes the person who's talking about Black Lives Mattering feel like they're being attacked for something that they're not saying. I don't think people who say Black Lives Matter don't believe that white lives matter. There may be some, I don't know. But I think the vast majority of people who say Black Lives Matter are simply saying it because that's their particular interest. That's an area that is of great concern to a lot of us. Reparations, I don't know how that works. We have spent money on a lot less just things than that, but I don't know how you do it.
Mr. Eldridge?
Well, you know, I think all lives matter, and that necessarily includes and means that Black lives matter. And I mentioned earlier in answer to a question the systemic issues that I see and the false choice that's presented on this issue. We don't have to choose between supporting law enforcement and dealing with systemic issues, including racial issues that exist. As a senator, I would endeavor and seek to do both and not ignore that issue, but take both of them on head on. As to reparations, I don't support reparations, but let me tell you what I do support. I do support dealing with the systemic issues that continue in this country that are a legacy of our history in this country, of a history that unfortunately and tragically includes slavery and includes civil rights abuses for a long time. And so we've got to recognize our history for what it is, and then look at where we are in 2016 and the systemic issues we have and deal with those. And to me, the biggest systemic issue we have in our state is that we are 49th in median household income. And you look at the families in Arkansas that are making less than $50,000 a year, less than $40,000 a year. The woman I met in Lake Village who's working for minimum wage trying to raise 5 kids as a single mom, you look at her, there's a legacy there, and there are systemic issues that we fight. And what I want to do is think about her life and her kids' lives going forward and say, how do we help each of those kids have an equal, have equality in this country, have a fair opportunity, and be able to live and realize the American dream. And that's where I would focus my efforts as a senator.
I'm sorry, but my question was not answered. And the reason I'm very concerned because in our country, reparations have been served to other people. And my issue with you saying that you don't support reparations is like you saying that African American, that this country was not built on the backs of slaves. And those slaves were my ancestors. And I have an issue with that because you're running for Senate and you're running in the very country that we built. Reparations are indeed necessary for the African American people.
Mr. Eldridge, you've been put on the spot. Your response.
All I'd say is that I certainly respect your opinion. And I think that what I try to do is find common ground that we can agree on. While I know we do not share the same opinion on reparations and on government payments, which is I think what you mean by reparations, the textbook definition, we don't agree on that. But what we do agree on is that we have systemic issues in this state and in this country And although we disagree, I think we can agree that we have racial issues in this country. We have systemic issues that disproportionately affect men and women of color, and I would want to do something about that. And I would just encourage you to look at the records of everybody here, including the empty podium, because we have somebody who's not even willing to show up and talk about that very real issue.
Mr. Gilbert?
As I said, I don't know how it works. I would love to visit with you and see what your view is of how you take money from taxpayers today for what happened 150 or 200 years ago. As you say, others have been remunerated for the grievances they have against this government, and I certainly recognize the grievance you're talking about and would love to visit with you about it more. Obviously, it's not something I've thought a lot about.
Tavares, thank you. By the way, Tavares is majoring in public administration, so you've heard a very strong voice in opinion.